Welcome everybody over on Speed Gaming. Thank you for joining us here for our second Dark Cloud Utan percent between MikeZorD and WordofWInd. This ought to be a great race. These are two very top tier runners we have in the Dark Cloud speedrun community. So again, thanks for being here for this. Looks like we are just about set up to start this thing. So again, this is the second out of several races that we're going to have here with the Dark Cloud speedrunning community. Just a little showcase that for the game itself. This is a quick any percent glitchless type category up through the second boss. Just get there, beat them as fast as we possibly can. We're going to see hopefully quite a few different strategies. We don't want bad RNG for these guys, but you know, a little opposition wouldn't hurt anybody. Let's see, I'm gonna get my handy dandy tracker out. We're gonna keep track of these guys Atla. Try and get a very good idea of who's in the lead here at all times. Dark Cloud is a very wonderful game, casually and as a speedrun. I've enjoyed it very much. Looks like we're checking some settings, making sure we've got everything set up here for the time of day being slow and our dialogue being fast. All right, looks like we've already begun. Slight head start there for Mike, but that won't make too much of a difference. I'm sure Word will take this no problem. So we start here. It's going over a little bit of a backstory, kind of telling as if it was just a narration out of a book, right? So we're digging into the fantasy here. Dark Genie has come to power, has put a curse on everything. He's kind of wreaked havoc along our villages. And we are just a lonely little teenage boy who's out to save the world. You know, just typical teenager stuff. We just got through our one and only cutscene, skippable cutscene in the entire game. Odd choice for the developers. Looks like it was a forgotten feature more than anything. But we're gonna go talk to the mayor, the only one who's spared here in Naroon Village, and he's gonna send us out on our way. All right, lucky enough, he knows what we should be doing, so he's going to give us a key. He's going to send us into the Dark Dangerous Dungeon, because, you know, why let the adults do the work when you've got a teenager to do it for you? All right, so we're entering the dungeon both at about the same time, it looks like. So we are input for input here on this one. Hard to tell who's going to take an early sweep. I think that's going to depend on who finds the first weapon. But the dungeons are your meat and potatoes of Dark Cloud. Everything is procedural. The map is going to be randomized. The atlas is going to be randomized to an extent. The chests are going to be randomized. And our goal is to get the best of the best and just keep on moving. So what our runners are hopefully going to do here was within the first few floors get a better weapon than what they start with. Hopefully get some repair powder so they don't have to run out. And then we're looking for specific and key items inside of our atlas. Those are our spheres. that are littered throughout the dungeon. That's where all of our people, our towns, our benches, our kegs, everything is just stored into. So WordofWInd was lucky enough to encounter some enemies early, but no keys just yet. Now, one of the interesting things about the Atla are going to be completely and totally randomized, with minor exceptions. And floor 1 being one of those exceptions, you're always going to have 8 Atla on floor 1. 7 of those 8 Atla are always going to be the same thing. Every single one of those 7 is the same thing. You've got one single sphere on that whole floor that can and will change. That being said, knowing that 7 of those 8 are not things that we need, we ignore all of them. We just keep running. We're looking for that key. We're looking for the exit. We might get a few chests if they're on the way, and then we're out of here as fast as we possibly can be. Another notable thing are the enemies that they're killing. So we've got dashers, we got skeletons, we got bats. All 3 of these enemies, with the bats are the only one that are not going to drop a key. Flying enemies, levitating enemies, they just don't have they just don't hold keys. There's some minor glitches, minor exceptions to that in later parts, but for the most part, you could get by without killing a single flying or floating enemy and just be perfectly fine. So unless you want the experience, unless you want an item they drop, we're just going to keep on moving. Looks like they both got their exit key. WordofWInd has managed to exit our first floor ahead of Mike, but Mike has his key. He's heading towards the exit now. Shouldn't be too long behind. So we see WordofWInd is encountering this cat. I always wonder where the cat come from. Why is the cat there? How can she run into walls and disappear? Nobody really knows, but she'll come in to play later on. I'm sure most of you know that is a second playable character that we have. Looks like WordofWInd getting trolled by the drop sounds a little bit. Stop combat with that skeleton to make sure he didn't drop a key. One of the challenges we're going to have here for this type of glitchless run are resource management. We got a couple different resources to watch out for. Your health being obviously one of them. Weapon durability is a second and far more important resource. We do start the game with a single repair powder. If your weapon hits 0, if it's the dagger, it'll just break. It'll just go back down to default. If it is any other weapon and it breaks, it is gone. It poofs, disappeared. You never had it. You definitely don't want that. So we try to push it as far as we possibly can with those weapons, taking as much damage to those weapons as we can, and repairing at the absolute last second. As we see, Word has gotten down to the very last one. Now, he could opt to break it and not really worry too much about it, or more likely he will repair and try and upgrade this weapon. So far, not seeing any useful items out of those atmospheres. But so far, the most important thing that we're looking for the odd gaffer. This is our shopkeeper. He's going to sell us all of the things that we need at a premium, of course, because capitalism has to run even in a apocalyptic society. But he's going to sell us the things that we need: more repair powder, more weapon upgrades, potions, bread, water, the like. So we're looking for the things for his shop. We also want to get Pike, who does assist him from time to time with the heavy lifting. So far, not much luck on floor 2. Looks like WordofWInd has cleared most of the floor. So he's likely heading to the exit here soon. Both of them opting to upgrade their daggers. Good choice, given that we don't know if or when we'll get another weapon. We're still looking for that gate key. Another one of these resources to watch out for is water. You do have a thirst meter, similar to hunger meters in various other games, but you're going to get thirsty, and if you don't take care of that thirst, it will slowly drain your HP pool, similar to the way the poison effects typically work. We'll see if Word's going to pick up these extra Atla before he heads to the exit. You're close to him, might as well grab him. That's how I see it most of the time. Mike's still looking for that key for floor 2. And looks like he's got that, and he's heading to the exit here very soon as well. Opting not to pick up that last atmosphere. Either he knows that it is one of the 3 static pieces, or he's taking a gamble here that we're not going to need it. Now, similar to floor 1 where it has 7 static pieces, floor 2 has 3 static pieces. That's going to be one of the Macho Brothers, an anvil, and an annex room. Those 3, if you know you have not looted them, or you know that you have any one of them left and you can count the spheres on the floor, then you're good to keep moving on. It's not a required item for your speed run. You don't need it. Those brothers can stay locked away until we defeat the Dark Genie. Word opting to exit the dungeon, resupply here a little bit. Looks like Mike is pressing on. So we're led on this fairy adventure by the Fairy King himself. He's directing us on how the world works at this time, all the ways that we can upgrade our weapons, all the things we can do with our elements, how to progress through these dungeons, what we're looking for within the Atla, and just all around guiding us on our adventure. Alright, the llama was looted out of that atmosphere. It's the first useful item that I have seen. Maybe you guys have noticed a few others, but it's the first one that I have noticed. WordofWInd getting a sign here that's going to be useful for our Odd Gaffer's buggy. All in all, within the first half of this dungeon, that's going to be anywhere from floor 1 and floor 8. It's going to be 14 different Atla pieces that we're looking for. We need everything to complete Tone's house. That's his mother. That's the new cat that he's going to acquire here in this dungeon. Just putting that all back together so we can get our second companion. And then we need the Odd Gaffer, who's going to sell us our resources and help us out, just keeping us in fighting shape. And then we need his assistant Pike, because if you don't have Pike, the Odd Gaffer is going to have a reduced supply. There's 2 events with the Odd Gaffer. You can either put him down, finish his buggy, he'll do all the work himself getting reestablished, but he hurts his back, which limits his ability to get supplies and bring things in. If you get Pike in Paige's house and you get Pike set up for him, Pike helps him reestablish his shop and he doesn't have to worry so hard. Right, looks like Word is skipping monsters at this point. He may have already found his exit key. As we were gearing up for this little competition, you know, several of us in the community were doing speed runs in practice. You know, Mike and Word have been playing together for some time. They did a practice run roughly about 2 weeks before this event, and you wouldn't believe it. They landed on the exact same time. The difference between the 2 runs was milliseconds. So that was quite a sight, and we're hoping to see something very similar as we work our way through. Looks like Word did get a new weapon a little while ago, the Bone Rapier. It's not my personal favorite choice. It does work out pretty well against Drain. It does have natural ice element. Drain being weak to ice, it does work out pretty well, but I find it to be a little on the weaker side. Durability-wise, just not my first pick. I'd prefer to see something like the Shamshir that has a higher attack value, or something with a little bit better durability like the Chris Knife. Looks like we've both reached level 4. This is kind of a mini boss level here. Just a quick group of skeletons and then a duel. These duels can be very important and can be the first early sign of shifting of the speed run. Anytime you get an excellent duel, that's perfect inputs on all of the duel requirements there, you're going to get gifted a random gem. If we get the right gem, then we could boost our attack or other useful elements for our weapon. That's going to put us significantly ahead in our ability to clear fights a lot easier. But it doesn't have to be a useful gem just for the gem to be useful. We would prefer it to be useful for the weapon. However, if it's not useful to our weapon, we can just equip it to, or we can just sell it rather. Most of those gems are going to sell for a pretty high value. That's going to help keep us running still with getting more and more resources. On top of getting perfect with this particular one, we are gifted with a power-up powder. If you don't get perfect here, that's going to be some random attachment for your weapon. Most of us would say, even casually, that power-up powder is going to have a lot more use, being able to instantly upgrade your weapon without having to kill and build up experience for it. And as expected, I mean, we've already got a really close race here. Both of them going into the floors about the same pace. Mike has opted to leave, whereas Word has already done that and restocked. So Mike is doing the same thing, going through those same cutscenes, talking to the mayor, going to restock here. So we see Word has chosen not to use his new sword yet. He's going to probably burn out the dagger here, and we'll see if he switches when that durability gets low. Early bone key is nice. It does mean that he can choose not to open any chests if that's what he'd like to do. Obviously, opening up those chests is going to eat up more and more time. The less chests we have to open, the faster we can go. But there are other things that we can benefit from. We can get items that we can sell to help with other resources. We might even just get those resources out of that, within itself. So those are things we can definitely be on the lookout for. Choosing not to go all the way up. Doesn't look like there's any Atla up there, so we're just not going to head in that direction. Choosing not to kill our statues. Statues have high durability, so they're going to eat up that weapon like crazy. We definitely don't want to kill them unless we have a separate weapon or lightning element to better damage them. Looks like Mike went to the wrong floor. He's having to exit back out and join in again. By my estimate, looks like Word is only looking for a handful of pieces left to have the odd gaffer placed down, but we are still missing pieces for Tone's home. Nothing is certain with Dark Cloud speedrunning. We certainly wouldn't ever count Mike out, but given that Word is moving on to, I believe, floor 6 is where we're heading, it does look like he might have a somewhat of a lead at the moment. We'll see if RNG will kill that lead before too long. So floor 6 is the floor where we start seeing mimics for the first time. Those mimics can be any chest. We won't see king mimics just yet, but those mimics can be any chest. And it's starting to look more and more like Word has not just almost everything for the odd gaffer, but it looks like he might have most things for his own home as well. Now we'll see, Mike is quickly upgrading his dagger before that enemy falls. Experience is not given out until the enemy disappears. And he has equipped, looks like a Peridot that increases attack somewhat of his dagger. and swapping over to holy damage. That's going to help with a lot with the skeletons. Can also, I believe, help with bats. And just any of the dark creatures. Already got a key, so he can ignore most of these fights. It is looking like Wind has almost cleared out the entire floor, so he might be moving on here to floor 7 very, very soon. Utan percent is an any percent glitchless race that's going to be doing glitchless strategies going up through the second boss, which is Master Utan. It was determined a long time ago that this was better for race settings, just given the amount of RNG within the game. It does create bigger and bigger divides the longer and longer you play. We see that mimic jumping behind Word there. Those mimics, similar to those statues, can really eat up on your weapon durability. They also are one of the first few that you can see block incoming attacks. And those enemies, when they block attacks, take no damage whatsoever, whereas when you block attacks, you could still take damage. Fair and balanced gameplay. Alright, so it looks like we've opted to use another weapon. He must be out of repair powder. And we definitely want something stronger to deal with these. But that's alright, we've already got our key and we're going to head out of here. We'll see if he'll grab those last couple of Atla in this floor, or if he'll just opt to keep going. He's got until the next floor to get the remaining pieces that he needs. Floor 8 is only going to contain one Atla. That's going to be Zhao that we need to move on. Mike is moving on to floor 6 now. And he is going to go ahead and scoop up these last couple Atla, at least this chest. So we're seeing a large chest there in the distance. We could have a few things happen. Either it's just going to give us a weapon outright, which would be wonderful, or it could be a clown hiding in the box who will offer us either a big present or a small present. Looks like we're going for the locked chest, so we have 1 of 3 guesses: poison, explosion, or curse. None of those options really great. Just depends on where you are and what you like to deal with. If you have antidotes, poison is obviously not that bad. Curse is going to stop you from being able to swap your weapons, which is never really ideal. And we're heading off to floor 7. This is kind of a do or die point for him, and we're going to see if he's going to have the ability to get the rest of what he needs, or if he might have to backtrack a little bit and find some things for the very few that he has decided not to pick up. Now the Fairy King's giving us a little pep talk here. He's telling us that we're entering a limited zone. These are going to be special rules that are applied on certain floors. The limited zone of this one says that you cannot trade your weapon, and any damage you do is going to actually give you negative ABS or experience to your weapon instead of positive. It's definitely not great for weapons that you are working on actively building up. Often I'll try and swap out myself to a different weapon. Looks like his bone rapier didn't really have a whole lot going for it at the moment anyway. As Mike is dodging mimics, dodging statues, trying to find the last couple of things in this floor that he's looking for with this weird star-shaped map design he's got going on. A quick check by Word, making sure that he does or does not have everything he's looking for. I'm not quite sure what he might be missing. Looks like he's just needing a llama or Paige's house. Either of those would be a great benefit to him. So far, it looks like both runners are playing it relatively safe, getting absolutely everything they possibly can. So you'll see this whole time, these angles, we're not looking straight ahead. We're not watching where we're running. We're following the map more or less. I can tell you those runners' eyes are probably glued on that pink arrow on the mini-map. They're not looking with the character unless they're in combat. And the reason for that, this angle that you're running at, you'll see an increase in speed as you run, if you can maintain a specific camera angle compared to your character. All right, WordofWInd moving on to floor 8. He's either got everything that he needs or knows that at this point, he's going to have to backtrack and grab those last couple of items. We're going to meet this questionable character. We're not sure who he is, what's going on. He's not even given a name until much later in the game, but this is Seda. Seda is possessed, as you'll find here, by the Dark Genie. And that's going to lead us into another very one-sided duel. Are backrooms worthwhile in races like these? I'm not experienced with a full any percent run, but I don't believe backrooms are utilized. It's especially not utilized in a race like this. You're really just hoping to get good luck with weapons within the dungeon, and just kind of utilizing those tools that you pick up along the way. A lot of the strategies utilized here for the early game are going to be with throwables. Throwables are very, very strong early on in the game. That includes any elemental crystals, especially if you're utilizing the right element to the right enemy. And then once you get the shop set up, you can purchase bombs, which are used for very, very tough enemies. Those bombs hit multiple times, so you're gonna see that used very soon to defeat things like dragons and opals and. All right, so after getting kicked to the ground here, we're given a changing potion. I still question whether or not this is a good deed or a bad deed by the supposed villain of our game. Can't imagine a bad guy wanting to do a good thing for us. We get to see Zhao just running over and choosing to become an Atla. Live out your dreams, guys. You want to be a floating sphere? You go right on ahead and be a floating sphere. The Opars, as you see, Mike is dealing with one right now. Those are a little bit easier dispatched with throwables, as their attacks can be a little odd to maneuver. Right, Mike choosing to use a treasure key to open this. Oh, nope, looks like he didn't have a treasure key. That may have been a misclick. And getting a bone repair for himself. All right, WordofWInd getting lucky enough. He is exiting the dungeon for the first time. Mike is still running around trying to find the last couple of things that he needs. Game is a little bit of everything. You got a little bit of a town builder, you got a little bit of a dungeon crawler, you got a little bit of a roguelike going on here. Now, casually, the town portion can be a little fun. You can arrange that however you like and kind of customize it, make it look really nice, make it your own. The villagers here in the town do have preferences. You can talk to them and they will tell you, hey, you know, I really want to face the sun when it rises in the morning. You know, I'd like to go fishing after work. If my house could be next to the pond, that would be excellent. You know, just little requests. Now, that doesn't necessarily limit the way that you can make your town look to a huge extent, but you know, it does change the positioning of certain things, making things a little bit more hard-locked. But after you fulfill those requests even just once, and you've gotten the benefit of it, you can rearrange your town however you want. They can't take it back. So Word is unlocking our second companion. This is Zhao. She is a cat girl. That's where we got this wonderful changing potion from our supposed villain. She's going to be utilized quite heavily throughout the run, depending on how the RNG works. Those slingshots tend to have a higher attack value than your swords. Does make her, and being a ranged weapon, makes her a great choice. It looks like Mike did get a chest. He's opting for the small one. Decent luck on that small chest option. He got an attack gem, so that's going to give him a small boost with his dagger. Now, it's kind of dealer's choice how you want to tackle those clown encounters. If you go with a big chest, you do have the chance to get weapons. If you go with a small chest, you do have a chance for attachments, including gems. Ideally, you want to find some of those gems if you're comfortable with the weapons that you have. If you aren't comfortable with the weapons that you have, if, say, he was rocking just his dagger and only his dagger, the choice may have been for the larger chest so that we could keep that going. All right, picking up some items here. Fluffy Donut's going to help with Tone's defense. We may use that quickly. We may hang on to that. Just depends on how comfortable Word is feeling with his combat and his ability to not get hit. Floor 7 being one of the more difficult dungeon floors. It looks like Mike is struggling to find that key still. As I speak, there it comes. As Word is now selling off any unnecessary items to make as much money as possible. Looks like he's got a topaz hiding in his inventory, which is going to be great for some attack. So we're picking up some resurrection powder in case of the unfortunate death. We want to get Dran's Feather. That's going to double your space speed as you hold and use that button. That is drastically going to change the pace at which this game is running. And then bombs for the more difficult enemies, especially when we get to floor 11. Floor 11 is going to be our next limit zone. That's where Zhao is required to be used. And we want to help her out as best we can. If we can't get another item, another weapon for her to use, then we're definitely going to need some assistance. As you can see, that Dran's Feather already paying off as Word is bolting to the exit as fast as he can. Mike going through his duel now. So it looks like Word is opting to run as far through this dungeon as possible without changing characters. You know, the less menus you do, the faster it's going to go. Equip that topaz for some extra damage. Alright, so just a handful of things that we're looking for on the last half of this dungeon. That's going to be floor 9 through 14. We need to build Dran's Windmill. Dran's Windmill is going to have a special key in it that we have to do to get to that boss here at the big ending of the cave. Now, there's a lot of floors between here and there. There's a lot of Atla between here and there. This is where we might start seeing some decisions of, I have the key, do I leave? Or am I going to try and find those extra pieces? Your odds of finding pieces on floor 9 are the exact same as finding them on 10 and 12 and 14 and every floor in between. Those Atla are decided the moment you enter the floor. If you leave and you re-enter, those Atla are now different. If it's in the loot pool, if it can be in that spot, it can be different. Alright, we're going to run right by that bat again. Flying enemies don't have anything useful. We don't care about them. Choosing now to kill his mimics first time. And our statues. We've got repair powders. We're not worried about durability anymore. We're just going to keep on trucking. Alright, electing to throw a bomb instead of eating up his durability. It looks like the second gem that we got here for Mike was a Garnet. Garnet and a Peridot together, two of the most useful gems that you're going to be able to get, both boosting attack values. Looks like he did have the unfortunate happen. He's going to have to go to floor 1 and dig through those Atla for the one Atlamolia that is not static. As I mentioned earlier in the run, 7 of those items are always going to be the same thing. So he knows right here, right now, he's got to find that one that's different. Looks like we did get another weapon, though. Whether or not he may need to use that later is questionable. If nothing else, it can be sold and help fund the adventure as we continue. So far, not having any luck on those Atla. He is still searching. Now, he won't have to kill off any enemies. He's already left this floor, so we don't need to look for another key. You could. If you were playing casually, you could pick up another key. Leaving a dungeon, you can leave one of several different ways, preferably either with the dungeon key or with escape powder. That's going to let you off the floor with no penalty. The unfavorable ways, obviously death, which will just boot you out of the dungeon here. If you leave and don't have escape powder, you will suffer a monetary loss of half your total income. So whatever you're holding on you, it is reduced by half. Now, in a run like this, not usually too bad because he hasn't sold off anything yet. The amount of money he's picked up, not very high. But later in the game, where you might have more substantial financial means, it might not be advantageous to leave if you don't have one of those favorable options. Looks like Word has already picked up his gate key here on floor 10, and he's just powering through. Just picked up Laura's house. There's going to be a power-up powder inside if he chooses to place it down and take advantage of that. Alright, looks like we've got Paige's house. We're exiting this dungeon here for Mike, and we're going to go ahead and start putting the town together. We're not counting him out just yet, so there's a lot of game left. There's a lot of RNG left. Opting to come talk to Mom first before she has a chance to get anywhere. Anytime you lift yourself up into the sky and put yourself back down, those characters can move. If you're not seeing those characters move, the likelihood that they are inside is drastically increased. So he's just testing it out, seeing if she is outside or inside. She's not outside, so we're going to go ahead and put down the odd gaffer, and we're going to ask what he wants in his house before we decide to have a small loading screen and talk to Mom here. Not seeing anything for Dran's Windmill Hill yet on Word's side of the game. That's alright, though. He's got his gate key. He's probably heading off to floor 11 here in just a moment. Oh, looks like we got one more Atla. Mike just sorting out through his financials, seeing if we can afford that one extra bomb. All right, and we're heading off to floor 11. This is our second limited zone where we are forced to use our new companion. They really want to showcase these new characters, show what they can do. We know that Tone has gone through several daunting floors, and he's very, very strong at this point. And so the likelihood that you're going to want to keep using Tone is very great. We definitely want to support him. But you know, we've got other characters. Let's see what they're about. Let's see how they function, and maybe we'll like the way it flows a little bit better. Now Zhao is using a slingshot, obviously a ranged weapon. That is a great benefit to her, so we get to stay away from enemies. However, Looks like Word is opting to get as close as he possibly can. The closer you are, the stronger her weapon actually is. So if you're standing right next to them, you will hit them for a much larger number than if you were standing further away. Now, her reaction time, despite being a cat girl, is not very strong. So, you know, those monster swings come out, she's going to take some damage. Looks like the skeleton decided he was not done. He wanted to get right back up. Choosing to fire at the au pair instead of using our bombs. Now that gas that they're spitting out does have a chance to apply a status effect to you. That status effect is going to be gooey. We don't want gooey. Gooey's going to slow us down. There's a handful of ways we can get rid of it. We can wash ourselves with some soap right here in the dungeon. If you perish, which wouldn't be a terrible idea with a revival powder, that status effect is gone. You're also only able to be affected by one status effect at a time. So if you go through and get poisoned, if you get a stamina buff, if you get frozen, if you get affected by any of these other status effects, it will overlap. And once those effects are gone, so is the gooey status. Not everybody a fan of that cat girl, I understand. And Mike heading back to the dungeon after we've resupplied and gotten new companions. Word heading into floor 12. This is where things are going to start getting a little bit more difficult as far as the enemies are concerned, where we might not even want Tone to deal with them. We might choose to throw bombs in place of attacking enemies. Remembering he had an advantage over on another weapon. These Roganoffs are not fun to deal with. They like to roly-poly their way over at you. And a King Mimic. These guys are no fun to deal with. Just like any other regular Mimic, they are going to be very, very strong. They do have a chance to defend, and they're just going to eat that weapon durability. If you don't need to kill them, I don't know that I would. Getting a bone slingshot, not the worst thing we could have gotten, but as far as slingshots are concerned, we are looking for better. Steel would be better, bandit would be best. We all know that bandit slingshot's what we're looking for. Alright, Mike back into the meat and potatoes of the game here. We are searching for more Atla. Choosing to fight the statue there with Thou, getting as close as possible to make maximum damage, maximum impact. This Master Jacket giving Word a hard time with those blocking maneuvers. Alright, electing to very carefully, very slowly attack this King Mimic. We don't want to break our sword. Alright, just tons and tons of giant chests here. Looks like Mike has got his own giant chest, and he's encountered his third clown of the game. We can't just give away things for free here. We have to make it a little matching game, little guessing game. Now you've seen tons of these little pools of water in each of these dungeons. These pools are very useful tools for us. It's going to replenish our water first and foremost. Nobody wants to be thirsty as you're saving the world. It's also going to get you a full heal. So excellent thing to do if you need either of those without having to burn up any of your resources. Now, Word looting the Duran's windmill here. It's the first useful item I've seen come from his side in the second half of this dungeon. Can it be worth the trip for loot? I think an argument could be made if you are in desperate need of money or desperate need of upgrade materials. You could take a quick trip to the back room. Problem with going into the back room is you can't leave the back. Well, leaving the back room is not as easy. And if you choose to leave the back room through any other means, that means you're going to have to find your gate key again. But there is a high chance for gems coming out of those back rooms. I don't know that I would necessarily be in favor of it, considering there are 5 different duels that take place within this speed run. Each 5, if you get an excellent performance, you are guaranteed to get a random gem. Those random gems are just as random in the back room. And we're heading off to floor 13, growing that lead here between the two of them. As Mike deals with fickle mimics and statues. Now, tram oil is still useful as far as the speed runs are concerned. Tram oil does carry a very high sell price to it compared to other items. I would much rather find some tram oil to sell than anything else. And making those use of those bombs, that's what we brought him here for, those dragons. Making an accidental cut at that bat. Alright, you see Mike dodging those ghosts. Ghost also being another one of those enemies that we just don't need to worry about. They don't have anything useful on them. Gonna take this circle here with Zhao just to see if it's gonna give us anything useful. And Word did loot Hag's house, much like Laura's house that has that power-up powder. Hag's house also has a power-up powder, so that is a total of 3 very easy, very convenient power-up powders that you can get from this first section. We want to get excellent on that very first duel. We want to grab Laura's house. We want to grab Hag's house. All 3 of those will get you 3 power-up powder, make things a lot easier as far as weapon upgrades. So Word has 3 out of 5 of the items that we're looking for. Haven't seen anything come from Mike just yet for Drain's Windmill. We can see quick zoom-ins happening over on Word's side. That is going to animation cancel some of our attacks here. So when the enemy starts blocking, instead of continuing your combo, which is likely what would have happened, we zoom in to first-person view, and that does eliminate those extra combos immediately. Gonna try and get these dragons grouped up together, maybe hit them with a single bomb. Opted for positioning that bomb instead of targeting and throwing. Alright, we're not going to open up any of those remaining chests. We're just going to head on out of here. In the last floor before the boss here for WordofWInd, we are still looking for, by my count, 2 items to be able to put together that windmill. Looks like he's got stuck in a long load, possibly. And he's in here. His game froze. Hop over to Mike's audio while we figure out what we want to do here about that. Now, the game does not save unless you choose to save, so this would be a full reset for WordofWInd. I'm not sure how we're going to play that out. And he says it's back, so I'm not sure if that means we're still continuing. Let's see. keep a close eye on Mike as he continues through the dungeon. Now this does happen with these PS2 games, you guys. You know, they are not without their faults. This game has some very entertaining glitches from time to time. Dungeon floors with branching paths that don't connect. Killing all enemies and nobody having a gate key. Early key on the Zao floor here for Mike, so he's going to head off to that exit as quickly as we can. One of the benefits of having these special character floors is the fact that there are no Atla. Tone is the only one who can open up Atla, so he is the only one that we can use for those floors. If he is not permitted to be here, then we just keep on keeping on. And it looks like Mike had another chest, another large chest with the clown stuck in it. He's going for more chests, it looks like. He needed a bone key. He was locked out of exiting from that bone key. Unfortunate when you've got a fast key like that. I see chat's going crazy over Steve. Did we just loot Steve over on WordofWInd side? Manually fighting those dragons, that's not what you want to see. But we also have a King Mimic here on floor 14, the second floor in which they are allowed to be. Now, ordinarily, I don't know that we would have any type of safety saves happen, but I wouldn't be surprised if we might see one here soon. You can save the game at any point in time in your menu outside of the dungeon. As Word is leaving the dungeon, we'll find out here in just a moment if he's got everything for his windmill or if he's going to have to backtrack and find some missing Atla. Placing down that hag's house, he's going to go ahead and grab those extra power-up powders. Also beginning to build everything for his windmill, so he has got everything he needs. He'll be heading off to Duran here before too long. Now that extra long load not doing him any favors. He'll have to, he does have a sizable lead over on Mike right now, but we'll see if that starts closing up here very soon. Grabbing a couple things inside of here. That attack +2 that we looted can be randomized. Always going to be an attack gem, but it can be anywhere between level 1 and level 3. Level 2 is not too bad. Level 3, obviously, what we want to see if we can. Grabbing a fish candy and another fluffy donut. That's going to increase your defenses here for both Tone and Zhao. Electing to fight both the statue and the Raganoff, I personally think I would have thrown a bomb. And Mike's still looking for several items for Dran's windmill. Word is over here just restocking his supplies, trying to get everything ready, not only for Dran, but also for the Wise Owl Forest. Looks like lots of attachments picked up here for sale. The sell price is always half of what the purchase price is. So if he's selling for 150, we could purchase those same items for 300. Mike doing some upgrades to his weapon. As Word is making some decisions as what he does and does not want in his inventory. Using those fluffy donuts and the fish candy, he is hanging on to the Fruits of Eden, which is going to raise his HP value. That can be paired as an extra healing item if you so choose. Full health restore along with a boost to your health. Several different ways that you can face Dran here, but Dran most commonly, the way the fight is intended is you're going to take Zhao, you're going to use that slingshot, you're going to get him out of the air. He will shoot fireballs from the air. He will slowly make the ground disappear. That's no good for anybody. If you fall in that hole, you are dead. There are no do-overs. So we want to avoid that when we get him out of the air. Once he's out of the air, the runners are going to try their very best to get him stuck in a damage loop by dealing either single hit damage or a skyward slash style damage. Mike's still looking for useful items, though he's got an early gate key, so he can stop fighting. He's just going to run through as quickly as possible, grab up as many Atlas as he can. Word over here starting his damage loop, and Dran is already down, courtesy of a stamina potion that's going to double all the damage that you do per hit. Making quick work of Dran. He's moving on to Makataka Village and Wise Owl Forest for too long. Dran's going to give us a speech about the world and the world as he knows it, and he's going to tell us, you know, the Dark Genie, he doesn't know a whole lot about, but he thinks that the tree over in the Wise Owl Forest might have some information for us. He says we should seek out the tree, we should seek out Master Utan, who are much smarter, much wiser than he, who could tell us where to go. Mike hitting that RNG circle and making the enemies stronger, buffing the enemies up with stamina. We definitely don't want to mess with them now because, yet again, they're going to do twice the amount of damage. Getting hit by some of those powerful enemies, but thankfully we are not damaged too badly. We're going to keep on moving. Still looking for several Atla for Mike. As word has landed in Makataki Village, and he's going to encounter its sole resident, the only person who was spared from the Dark Genie's gathering. Interesting how there's consistently just one person in every village who didn't get captured. All right, Mike also grabbed Laura's house, so he does have the option for another power-up powder. And we're gonna encounter Goro for the first time. This robust young man from a hunter's village. We'll see if we can pull off this duel perfectly. That diagonal, not an issue. The only diagonal in the game. And we cleared it without any issues, being given a turquoise. If nothing else, that'll be very beneficial for our wallets. Goro, not feeling embarrassed at all, says there's nothing wrong. He's not upset. He's just got something in his eye. He's going to go back into his treehouse. Are you able to use a second controller port simultaneously? I don't believe so. Are you thinking about using extra inputs for those duels? Is that the idea? Yeah, we came to see the tree, but the tree is not speaking to us. Looks like it is dry. The river has been broken. Another wonderful gift from the Dark Genie. Doing a diagonal D-pad on the third-party controller is bad. You know, I've never encountered too many issues getting that diagonal. I've had issues getting the diagonal in the right timing. Mike on the 14th floor find it hard to believe that he wouldn't have the majority of items that he is looking for. Unfortunately, I haven't kept track, although he's skipping these Atla. Maybe he knows something that we don't. As WordofWInd enters the Wise Owl Forest for the first time, we do have a grand total of 19 items that we're looking for, the majority of which are going to be in the first half of this dungeon. That's going to be between his floor 1 and 9, 9 being the mini boss floor. So 1 through 8 is what we're looking for. So as Word destroys the days of the week here, looking for a key, not just one, not just two, all 3 of them. We have the chestnut, we have a shiny stone, we have the red berry, all 3 of which are going to be useful for the owl that's gatekeeping, quite literally our exit to the next part of the forest. He's very choosy, very picky. He either wants one of these 3, and we've got a 33% chance roughly of it being any one of them. Alright, Mike having no issue finding all the things that he needed and getting through here. Although it looks like Word is getting and gathering up more and more power-up powder. Along with a sundew, that's going to make things a lot easier for him in the future. Let's just hope he doesn't make my mistake and sell it. First thing we're looking for is, within the first 9 floors, is Kakoa. He is going to give us the flute that is going to help us progress through floor 9's mini-boss. We need to summon a snake out of his cave, and he won't come unless we call properly. Looks like we're electing to go ahead and add some increased stats to the Bone Reap here. Make use of some of that extra power-up powder that he's been given. And we're going to status break that thing down. Once you get to level 5, you have the option to status break any weapon that you have with the exception of your primarily first given ones. And it's going to give you 60% of the stats on that item. So you don't want to add anything like attacks or anything like that if you have enough slots on your new weapon. And it looks like we've chosen to go with Steve, our wonderful, beloved Steve. As we all know, Steve hates Thursdays the most, so these little minions are of 0 consequence. And we have Mike facing off against Dran. We'll see what strategy he'd like to go with, or if he has a stamina potion to make quick work of him as well. Alright, just like we had bone keys in the first dungeon, we have mustache keys here in the second dungeon. These things are going to help gatekeep our progression. Back to using the dagger here. And Mike making quick work of Dran as well. He did have a stamina potion hiding out here for us, so he'll be making his way on over to the Wise Owl Forest shortly. Already looking fairly decent as Word has grabbed a handful of items that we know he's going to need, including some river pieces. all in all, looking for a total of 16 pieces here in the first part of this dungeon. We did everything for Kokoa's house. For that flute, we also need 5 individual river pieces. That's going to give us a total of 25 river links that we can use to rehydrate our tree friend. Looks like we might not have all of the keys just yet. The owl has declined our first 2 offerings. And there we have our final one. Mike opting to do a shop after Dran rather than having done it before. It looks like we're gearing up, getting ready for the long haul. Ideally, most players are not going to make another trip back to the shop until after we have acquired Goro. Looks like WordofWInd chose not to grab either of the 2 pockets, 3 pockets rather, that are available here in the game. The mayor has one that's going to add +5 to our inventory, excuse me, +10 to our inventory. There's another one up in Goro's treehouse that we can choose to get. And then if we have everything for Paige's house, we can complete Paige's house and she will gift us with another pocket. Now that one being less ideal because it does include a lengthy cutscene in a dialogue with Paige. WordofWInd making it to our second floor of the Wise Owl Forest. Getting some much needed advice from Steve. Cannibal plant, so it does like eat salads and stuff. Did you know that? We're going to read off as much Steve wisdom as possible. Mike heading into our duel with Goro. Hitting that diagonal, no issue. Looks like we've got another excellent clear from the Goro encounter. Ending with an amethyst. Don't recall if that's one of the good gems or not. Is thirst ever really an issue during any of these races? I've never encountered an issue with thirst. Thirst is no more than a mild poison. They do litter the dungeon floors with quite a few springs that I've never encountered an issue. And it's one of those, if you're going into your menu and you've got water, you might as well just use it. But not many people going out of their way to manage the water resource very much. You know, Sonic, you say that about Word getting unlucky. You and I both know that that can't happen. Only being on the second floor, Mike's not too far behind. He's only looking at a handful of cutscene difference between the two of them. At this point, it could just come down to bad key luck on Word's side that helped Mike catch back up. Better take care of Steve before Steve leaves you. Looks like opting to eat one of those fruits of Eden to help clear up some of those inventory issues that he is seeing. And again, choosing not to take any one of the available pockets for him. Having to manage his inventory a little bit closely here. Another sundew. And we've got Mike entering Wise Owl Forest for the first time. Only about a floor and a half difference between the two. The owl already not liking Word's offerings. Absolutely, Sonic. Good luck on making that extra cash. Those GPUs are not fun to have to reacquire. Opting to keep upgrading Steve as it's the best option we've got currently. choosing not to grab any Atla, at least for the moment. I'm thinking Word is taking very strong advantage of the fact that Zhao is thirsty to not get additional Steve dialogue. This might be intentional. Mike already getting some decent luck, getting a couple of river pieces early. As Word has made the correct choice as keys and is heading off to floor number 3. Now, we mentioned running at a specific angle to help the character move a little faster. That technique does become slightly more interesting here within this particular dungeon, as we now have these knotted trees that kind of get in our way as we're running through. Already have a key for the next floor, avoiding that hornet as another one of those monsters that just will not give up a key no matter how many times you kill him. As we loot Kokoa's dirty laundry, looking pretty good over on Word's side as far as the items he needs. He's only on floor 3 and we're already looking at completing Kokoa's house very quickly. Now those enemies that throw things being quite dangerous. They have a pitcher's arm and a sniper-like aim. Now getting those Atla close together like that, definitely very helpful. Looks like the owl did not like Mike's offering either, so they are both in the same boat, being disliked by the owl today. And running into those pools of water yet again. So this being what I was saying earlier, those pools are fairly frequent. A lot of times you will find at least one per dungeon floor, sometimes even multiple per dungeon floor. That water management just does not seem to be much of an issue. Later on in places like the Sun and Moon Temple, they do have limited zones where those floors can deteriorate your water a little bit more quickly. There are also enemies that if they hit you, like mummies, will drain your water from you. So it really just comes down to your ability to dodge attacks sometimes, or just make use of the water that's available. You can also switch between characters to kind of reduce that annoyance as well. So if Tone's out of thirst and you need a little extra, Zhao might have more thirst for you that you can go ahead and just kind of use up that secondary bar. We got WordofWInd heading off to floor number 4. Mike's still not too far behind. About a floor and a half difference still. Now we have hit a limit zone for WordofWInd, so this is another Zhao floor. She is required for this one, which also means no Atla to look for, so we just want a key, a successful key, and to get out of here as quickly as possible. And it looks like we've already got one of those keys. As Mike continues to manage this Chris knife as his best option for damage. We're dealing with bag space issues yet again. His inventory is full for about the 4th time. Steve being very insulting, commenting on the complexity of these little minions here. Said he's looking awfully pale. A lot of shade in the forest. You don't tan as easily there. Alright, we are running from those prickly guys. I'm wondering if we have everything we need. Now, he does have a chestnut in his inventory. Maybe he forgot. But now we have the red berry. Definitely does not matter. Let's see if he goes searching. He's going to go searching for that chestnut, not knowing that he already has it. This could be that one thing that Mike needs to help close that gap. Nothing strange about hanging upside down. It's fishy. Good old Steve wisdom. Now, if only Steve had enough wisdom to tell us we are searching in vain. As Mike's key is accepted, we'll see if he makes an immediate exit to help close this gap even further, if he continues looking himself for some things. We're going to keep searching the floor for Mike. As WordofWInd is going to head off to the last room that he hasn't explored yet. You're a big bee. Alright, so we killed that prickly, and we now know that there are no killable enemies on this floor. He's going to check his inventory here in just a moment and realize what he did. And he sees it. We're going to immediately head towards that exit. Now, that did help Mike catch up somewhat. We are now more of a floor behind rather than a floor and a half behind. As Mike already has one of his keys and has picked up Annie. Annie being in the mushroom house. Lovely old wife to Mr. Rowe. They are long-time lovers of the forest here. We'll see if he remembers picking up this chestnut here on this floor for WordofWInd. Now, Mike getting lucky with his floor layout. It looks like he's got very, very little to explore here. It is a straight shot on back. Wednesdays are boring, so says Steve. Amora, this is Utan %. This is an 80% glitchless speed run. The goal here is just to get to and defeat the second boss as quick as possible. We've got two runners here today. We've got MikeZorD and WordofWInd, both top tier runners in the Dark Cloud speedrunning community. WordofWInd holding a few world records, including the second place, I believe, in this category as well. Alright, seeing another river piece here by WordofWInd. Both players still playing relatively conservatively. We're still hoping for a bandit slingshot from either player. I'm sure they would love to see it. Although we took the small box trying for weapon attachments and gems. So one of the benefits of using Zhao on places like this is her slingshot is only going to take 1 durability loss for each time he fires, whereas Tone is going to take several durability loss depending on the enemy that he's facing. Last couple of Atla here for floor 3 for Mike. Getting a handful of items that it looks like are necessary for him. WordofWInd looks like he may have fully cleared his floor already, getting fairly lucky with his layout as well. Mike's Owl accepting the first offering he's got, and he's heading off to the Zhao floor. This could close up some of that gap as well if he can get an early key and get out of there as quickly as possible. Looks like WordofWInd is opting to do a full clear. Either he's looking for another key or he just really wants these last handful of Atla. So far, nothing but Hornets here for Mike as he runs and tries to find the enemies worth killing. We've got 1 key so far. If he can find the exit quickly, that might be all he needs. Getting a map is a pretty lucky break. He knows exactly where that exit at, and I'm sure he's going to head straight to it. Unfortunately, that is not the key he needed. He's going to have to keep looking. Not many Atla left here for WordofWInd. By my count, he needs about 3 items left between the next 3 floors, including this one. Make that 2 more within the next floor and a half. All right, and the Owl taking Mike's second offering, so he will be moving on, trying his best to catch up. All right, could only be missing the river pieces and the mushroom house for WordofWInd. Thursday is getting stale. More Steve Wisdom for us as we continue trying to get out of these floors as fast as possible. Mike grabbing Cacao's dirty laundry as well, getting another attack attachment out of that chest. Pretty good finds. Those attack attachments, while it would be better to find a stronger weapon, are definitely going to do us some good if all we've got to work with are our Chris knife. Word's getting trolled by the sounds of the forest as he heard something drop, but it ended up not being a useful item at all. Could put some attack gems on here and choose to upgrade this with those attack gems. Looks like that's exactly what he's going to do. Some extra river pieces for WordofWInd. So we are getting closer and closer to having everything we need to start revitalizing the Makataki village. New keys right off the bat for WordofWInd, so we might not be killing anything until later. Looks like we're having inventory issues yet again. Looks like he may be choosing to hang on to all of his bombs for the Goro floor. Although the luck with his power-up powder continues. Mike's heading off to floor 6. Looks like WordofWInd may be about halfway through his floor 7. Still maintaining that about floor and a half lead. Now WordofWInd did pick up Baron's house. Baron's house will have another power-up powder if he chooses to collect on it. So WordofWInd's key was accepted, so we know he can leave the floor as soon as he's got everything he needs. More river pieces for Mike. We need 25 river pieces in all. Each one of those atlas is going to contain 5. This looks like he's not the only, or looks like Word's not the only one gathering power-up powder. Mike did get his own power-up powder. Gonna take that key immediately back to the owl, see if we can get it accepted as well. Looks like he did like that key. We might see an early exit of this floor as we only have one more. Looks like he's gonna stay here. Look, he is on floor 8. Floor 8 is gonna be his last chance to get the last couple of things that he needs. Looks like he has exited the dungeon. He may very well have everything that he needs. Yeah, he does have the mushroom house, so he's missing 3 items specifically for the mushroom house. That'll be in the last half of the dungeon. Getting a lucky spawn with Cocoa there at the bottom of his house. And Koko's telling us the story about Goro's late father, how he died valiantly. And then he's going to give us the secret to summoning the snake, so that we can give Goro the proof that he needs that his dad is unfortunately not coming back. So we've reattached the river, and we've got little minions coming to let that water pass through. This river is going to allow the tree to come back to life. So these earrings we picked up early on when we came across Goro do let us be able to speak to the tree, and he can tell us what it is that we need going forward. Turns out the snake is very strong, very resilient. We can't beat him without a little help. So he's going to freely give us the serpent sword, which had we not developed some more powerful weapons by this point, would be a great substitute for some of the weaponry that we have currently obtained within the Divine Beast Cavern. Mike finishing up floor 7 here. It's going to be just floor 8 left to gather up the last couple of things that he needs without the need of backtracking. Looks like his map is fairly clear, so he should be heading to the exit to get out of this floor now. Another duel. We'll see if he opts for a fast duel or if he is going to go for a full clear, an excellent clear. Looks like we did get another excellent clear. That's going to be good for some monetary gain at the very least. So this is going to be Goro's late father's pendant. This is going to be the proof we need to show him that things are as we say they are, and as the villagers say they are, and hopefully Goro can come to terms with it and move on, preferably with us, and saving the world. We got 2 keys picked up from Mike's side. I do believe he's got the 3rd key already. Checking his atlas, just making sure that he's got enough pieces. As WordofWInd is going to go find Goro and recruit him for us. Goro gets a wonderful vision here of his father, who tells him it's time for him to move on and he needs to help all of mankind go out on his own adventure, make a name for himself. Owl not liking what we have to offer here from Mike. It looks like we might have to run off and go find the shiny stone. Looks like that chest may have been accidental. Taking a couple of hits here, having to re-up. And then this is kind of what I mentioned. If you've got water and you have a need to go into your inventory, you might as well use it. Of course, the feather breaking at the same time, definitely not what we wanted to see. And so now we've got Goro with his weapon of choice being the hammer. He's not useful here in this speed run. He's not going to be used beyond his own floor or having to get through a couple of additional obstacles. Quick inventory check, just trying to see how much of anything Word wants to go get from the shop. Looks like he's going to opt not to do a shop run just yet. And we've got that shiny stone, so we can exit this floor. Not picking up any atlas, though. That does give the appearance that Mike has got everything that he needs to complete his town as well. So these new block doors using buttons to kind of jump through is the new obstacle that we're going to use Goro for primarily. He does have his own limited zone floor that we will be required to use him, but yet another reason, just like Zhao here on the back in Divine Beast Cavern, we've got bombs for that. Looks like we might have a bit of a visual issue on Word's side, a little bit of flashing, so be mindful if you are sensitive to light changes. Mike getting just as lucky with that position of Krakoa there, just at the base of his tree. So at this point, WordofWInd is just looking for 3 items. We need Ro to join his wife in their mushroom house. We need to get the second floor of that mushroom house and then the balcony to go on top. Just 3 little items within 7 floors. Now those 7 floors could have a ton of Atla within them. So some choices can be made to just take the exit keys and run. Just as good a chance to find any of those items on floor 10 as you do to find them on floor 16. Real close to those mimics to get that max power shot. This has definitely been the play from WordofWInd the entire run to this point, opting to make the most out of his damage and proximity. Doesn't look like we're placing down Baron's house, at least not yet, making use of that additional power-up powder that can be made available to us. We're getting a little low on Dran's feathers, but with not too much of the race left on his end, we might not need to re-up on those Dran's feathers. We might be good with what we have. Mike's still going through a few of those cutscenes that Word just went through. Still not too far behind, only about a floor and a half between them. Anybody who had joined us on our first race on the first knows how easily that gap can be made up with some poor decisions or bad RNG. Looks like Word is playing cautious right now. He's opting to go ahead and make a full clear of this floor. It's either a choice with that room being as close as it was, or it is intentionally playing safe. Is this a world record pace? I think at the moment, given the world record is an hour 59 minutes, I think it's a little close to tell when you've got at best 6 floors to go, not knowing how easily those floors can be upset. Now things do look fairly good for WordofWInd. He does have a lot of resources in the way of money, so it doesn't look like he's going to struggle with getting the things he needs for the Master Utan fight. What we might end up seeing is just poor key luck, not getting the keys to drop, not having the keys accepted, those type of things. He is also looking for 3 specific items, and at this point has chosen to open every Atla on each of the floors so far. That's floor 9, floor 10, and thus far floor 11. So hard to say where this one might end up for him, but I wouldn't count him out. He is currently holding 2nd place, with a difference of just a few seconds between him and I believe Glitched, who currently holds the record for this category. Still opening up those large chests. I don't know if he's still hoping to get the bandit slingshot, or if he's just looking for more money. Looks like Mike did not get an excellent clear on this snake. Not that I think he needs it. I believe he's got all of the gems that he would want for use. I do also believe he probably has enough money to back up some of the things he's working on. There is a bit of a time save with not using, for not getting a perfect clear. I mean, it's a couple of seconds, but there's a time save nonetheless, so it very well could have been intentional. Mike getting to the point he's going through the whole backstory with Goro. Word picking up the balcony. That's one of the 3 items he's looking for. Definitely seems at this point that the race or the decision to gather as Atla does seem like a intentional decision. Seems like we are playing relatively safe. Now, we are in another limited zone floor, so Goro is locked to this floor. That also means there's no Atla here. Looks like Mike chose to go up the ladder and grab the extra pocket. He did not grab either of the 2 pockets available in the first section of the game. Now, that is Paige's house still being unoptimal to get, but the mayor's house, not a real difficult pocket to find. So making those decisions late is a choice for sure. Now he has chosen to go ahead and do a shop run. Word is still looking for extra keys to get out of this floor. Now we've got at least 1. Not sure if we've grabbed any of the others yet. Those witches being on that list of enemies that aren't going to drop keys. You can put them right along hornets and bats and ghosts from the first dungeon. Skipping that mole right there, He's got 2 out of the 3 of the keys, it looks like. And the first key was accepted, so we have a relatively quick exit on the Goro floor. Mike now moving to get back into his own dungeon to start working on the second half. Now, I would officially say at this point the lead has stretched in Word's favor. We are definitely looking at being 2.5, if not even 3 floors ahead. Mike swapping to a different character there to avoid a duel with werewolves. Now that floor that he was on, floor 9, the mini boss floor, if you will, does have 2 duels in it. You've got werewolves that are required to be fought by Tone. You can avoid that by swapping to other characters such as Zhao or Goro in this particular instance. It looks like he did choose to do that. Now, if you needed more money, if you wanted more gem attempts, you could always do the werewolf fight, at which point you've got another opportunity there. Looks like we are not making an early exit again. We are choosing to pick up all of the remaining Atla here on Word's side of things. Not that there were too many left, looks like just the one. Wise Owl Forest has 17 floors, the 17th floor being the boss floor. So Word's got 14, 15, 16 left just to find the last 2 items that he's looking for. The odds of finding it is equal, split among all of those different floors. Well synchronized opening of Atla there, with Mike getting the thing that he needed of Ro. That does put him on an even playing field as far as Atla is concerned. Both of them just looking for 2 items. Now this could make a huge difference as far as the decisions that Mike is making for his own race. If he does come across all of those items as quickly as possible, he can choose to, would not necessarily choose, he will choose to ignore the Atla and just find his gate keys and get off those floors as quickly as he can. Now, with the addition of Goro, we do see the number of obstacles within the dungeon increase. So not only do we have the river that is splitting sides of the dungeon where Zhao has to jump over that block, but now we have special doors that require a button press from Goro's hammer. Tone not necessarily having any specific obstacles himself, since everybody kind of deals with the key doors, as it were. As has been the pattern for WordofWInd this run, he is having inventory issues to pick up even just those gate keys. Looks like we did not loot the mustache key, so we've got to actually run back and open some chests to even be able to exit this floor. This is the type of bad RNG that we kind of discussed that might prevent somebody from hitting things as simple as a world record or even just winning the race in general. If that happens enough, we can see an upset. So the second time on this same floor having to manage his inventory. Trying to get rid of as little as possible, it looks like, maybe for the opportunity to purchase more bombs here in the future. But we did go ahead and get the key that we needed, so he's going to run back as quickly as he possibly can. We'll see if Mike's owl likes what he's got. He does. Now, if Mike were to go ahead and leave the floor early, that would give him a better chance of catching up. Looks like he might as well be playing it safe and trying to gather as many Atla as possible. Now again, those chances are exactly the same off of every single Atla that is available in the last half of this dungeon. There are no static pieces that I am aware of within the last half of this dungeon, so each individual floor, each individual Atla is going to have that same opportunity, that number only reducing or increasing, as it were, in percentage by every item taken out of that loot pool. What is in that Atla is decided the moment you enter that dungeon floor. If you leave that dungeon floor and come back, those Atla can and will change. Still nothing super useful. Now, this one is very different compared to Naroon Village, where not everything had all 6 slots of attachments for your buildings. Some of them had much fewer, 3s and 4. So not everything needed a full amount. There's also far less buildings in Naroon Village compared to Matataki Village here. So just the amount of Atla that exists within this dungeon is significant. Looks like Mike has moved on to his Goro floor as well. Already has 1 key. If he's lucky enough, that key is all he'll need and he can go ahead and exit the dungeon. Looks like he will at least explore this other side room, see if he can't get out of here. Get another key before trying to leave. Making use of that spring yet again to heal up. Got a second key before going, definitely increasing his odds quite significantly that he does exit this floor relatively quickly. Looks like Word's first key was not accepted. He will have to try and find another. This is the type of RNG that Mike has got to be praying for, unknowingly, got to be praying for to make sure that he can catch up. Word getting another key relatively close to the exit, so he's going to make a quick jaunt back just to see if it's accepted. And it was, so I believe he's going to be heading off to his last dungeon floor before the boss. If I'm not mistaken, still on the lookout for 2 items. Mike did have 1 of those 2 keys accepted, not sure which one it was, but it was enough, doesn't matter which one it was. He is on to collecting more Atla. Still getting attack gems out of his chest, not the worst thing that you can get your hands on. Avoiding these witches who are throwing apples at you. I wouldn't want an apple thrown at me either. Word has not picked up any pockets that I'm aware of. If we keep a close eye out for the top right of the screen on his end, we'll be able to see a number. It'll be two numbers. If he got one, then it'll show some number of 60. If he didn't, then we'll still be looking at 50. Now, we do know that Mike did get his pocket. Give them holy light, not moonlight. Steve giving you advice on how to deal with those werewolves. They are better affected against or with holy damage. With as many times as Word has had inventory issues so far in this run, even as late as the last floor or two, I don't believe he has picked up any pockets. And of course, we are seeing good RNG from that clown. Those small boxes coming in handy. At this point, I would say that Word is financially sound. He doesn't need any excess items. Realistically, opening his chest should be to benefit of finding mustache keys. Alright, the hunt continues for more keys. He does still need to open these Atla. Still not one of the two items that I have seen that he should still need. We're looking for Ro, Annie's husband, as well as their second floor to their house. Now, Mike in a similar situation needing two items, and again, this could be the difference of Mike making any type of catch-up progress. Looks like down to the last two Atla of this floor. He's either going to get the last two things he needs. All right, we're looking at the second floor for WordofWInd. Choosing to kill this King Mimic because he might hold the key. All right, not taking that at last Atla. That does mean that WordofWInd likely has everything that he needs, and we unfortunately didn't see it. I didn't see it. Good thing he turned around for that chestnut. That red berry alone was not enough. He needed that chestnut. Now, this is where we could be fairly close to seeing possibility of any type of world record. We are about 3 minutes away from that time on WordofWInd's side here. He does have a handful of cutscenes that unfortunately he will need to go through. So if it's going to happen, it will be coming very, very close. Choosing to let them go inside. That's what Word is trying to do. He's trying to get them to go inside so he can talk to them both at the same time. Looks like they weren't both in there. He is going to have to search for, I believe it's Annie. No, he did already talk to them, so never mind. We are just filling in our pieces. Now, these are the two oldest residents aside from the treant in the forest. They have long history and a lot of wisdom, and we're looking forward to that wisdom on how to actually reach Master Utan. All right, so Annie and Ro both are just like, I think we have what you need, but we're not sure where it's at. And he's just looking and looking and looking, and oh, look, we found it. And he got so excited, he's back down on the first floor with us. Just a little bit of amateur parkour. The Dark Cloud citizens have a lot more resiliency than you and I. Mike not moving too slow here. He is on floor 15, which is fairly close. We're still on the lookout for those last two items. If we can get it, that'll dramatically increase the speed at which he clears these dungeon floors. Choosing to status break the Chris knife, we are most likely going to go ahead and equip it onto a slingshot. No, it looks like we're actually going to put it onto our serpent sword and finish our game with that. Now, WordofWInd has a lot of bombs to purchase. It takes about 32, if I remember my count. It takes about 32 to kill Master Utan, and that's going to be the preferred method of slaying. So with his inventory struggles, he's going to have to make sure that he's got enough. He's doing some math. Looks like he may have figured it out. Now, unfortunately, that does take us out of the realm of any chance of a world record for this particular run, sadly. We are reaching that time within the next 20 seconds. There are a handful of cutscenes that need to happen. It just, unfortunately, is not possible with the time that we have. So one of the things that Ro and Annie gave us was this grass seed. That grass seed was planted and then watered with a sundew that does accelerate plant growth to give us this nice, wonderful staircase as the only possible solution of reaching Master Utan. We couldn't have used a ladder. We couldn't have built a staircase out of rocks. We couldn't have done anything different at all. We had to rely on this very specific plant. WordofWInd's going to get as close as he dares. He's going to throw those bombs, get Utan stuck in a loop, a damage loop here. Now, you don't want to throw all 9. You can fit 9 into your bar, but you don't want to throw all 9. You want to use that to go ahead and just fully stock, as he chose to go ahead and put them on every status bar. Now that is a bit risky. There is going to be a small delay between switching from one status bar to the next status bar that Master Utan could break out of this loop. Looks like he's got it well under lock. As long as he's got enough bombs, this is a shutout. Looks like that is the end of the race for Mr. WordofWInd. Is 2 hours 47 minutes. Currently the fastest time in our Dark Cloud tournament races to this point. Both Sonic and myself finishing with 2:02 and 2:03 respectively. We're gonna wait for Word to join us up here, and we'll see how he felt about his particular race. Now, as far as I'm aware, I think Mike is still looking for those 2 items, but he is on the last floor before the boss himself. Still not doing too bad. I don't believe I've seen any sundews on Mike's end either, so he will have to get the story sundew.
Yo,
Welcome on in, Word. How do you feel about that race?
That was interesting one, I have to say.
You know, we were all holding our breath when you came into the chat and said that your game froze. We hate to see anything like that happen in a race setting, especially. So, I mean, how did you feel once that game just suddenly came back?
Yeah, I don't know. I think that was quite an unexpected result. Actually, I've had this happen before on an emulator, I believe, like a couple of times even. So this was my first time it happening on a console. So
I was gonna ask if you were playing on console. I was quite surprised that you didn't elect to do a safety save after that.
well, I mean, yeah. I think I could have a safety save, sure, but no, I don't know.
Well, you're getting dangerously close to that world record yet again. I know the last attempt you had, you would PB'd. So, you think you think any one of us rather at that point? It looks like we're all dangerously close to it so far. It looks like you think there's a chance we see a world record in a race setting this time?
Yeah, of course, there's always a chance for that to happen, and yeah, we'll see. Like, I believe this run could have been pretty close to it. I think I probably lost like a minute and a half during the freeze. I don't know exactly how much it was, but
So another thing I noticed that you had done, and I'm sure you were kicking yourself after you noticed it. You had that chestnut for a while, and you didn't notice it, and you ran back trying to find the enemy to drop that last key for you.
yeah, that's one mistake I had, definitely. I think I would have to blame a little bit about the the freeze I had earlier because that I think that freeze I had earlier kind of lost my focus for a little bit there after it. So
Understandable. A little bit of those race nerves. I mean, I can attest to that. I mean, I made several mistakes in my last couple of minutes last Tuesday, so it'll get to you for sure.
yeah.
Looks like we're still waiting on Mike to find the last two items. If I'm not mistaken, he needs the balcony and he needs the second floor. Now, I know the last time you guys raced each other, you were doing just some practice, and I was telling everybody early on that the two of you had landed on the exact same finish time.
Yeah, it happened. It happened a couple. I think it happened a while ago. We got the exact same time, but yeah, it was like extremely rare event that happened back then.
Very, very uncanny for any game, for that matter, to end that close in time for sure. Looks like Mike is having to go back to previous floors looking for.
Oh yeah, he did say that he skipped one floor.
Well, he just went, it looks like, to floor 8, but if I'm not mistaken, you're not going to find either of those two items on floor 8.
Okay, yeah, that is very interesting. I don't know what's happening there. Maybe he's missed one of the. No.
He couldn't be missing any of the river pieces. He got everything he needed.
Yeah, there's no need to come here. Like, that's interesting.
He might not realize he went to floor 8.
One thing I would have to say about my run is that my first half of the Divine Beast was kind of crazy. Like, if I look at my splits, it says that I was 4 minutes ahead of my best run at the South split. So
that is quite interesting. Yeah. Yeah, it looked like you were getting decent RNG, especially better RNG than Mike there in Divine Beast Cave. You know, the chat was very excited when they had Steve show up, and we were sharing some of Steve's wisdom as you were making your runs. And I thought that you had intentionally left Zhao dry and thirsty so that you weren't getting into Steve's commentary.
Oh yeah, that's interesting. Like, I didn't actually realize like about the dialogue stuff. Well, I knew I had Steve equipped and all, but I didn't realize that like the thirst will be like uh, uh, blocking the dialogue, so I didn't pay attention to it at all.
Yeah, I kind of made an observation. I don't have much experience with glitchless for this game, but I had made the observation that whenever there was a different text box in the way, that Steve wasn't making any type of dialogue, and that just continued to be. So I would see where he started to. He said something that flashed on the screen, and in the moment Zhao became thirsty, it covered it up, and then Steve never spoke again until her thirst was taken care of.
Yeah.
So pro strats, everybody. If if you don't want to listen to Steve, looks like Mike might have had everything he needed after all, and he went to that floor by mistake because he left immediately floor 8. So either he needed a few items to deal with the next couple of floors, or he's got what he needs. Okay, 13. 13 is where we're gonna find those hidden gems.
Yeah, I think what happened.
Go ahead.
But I think what happened to Mike earlier here is that he was probably spamming X when he the X button when he came back to the dungeon, and it was accidentally went to floor 8 because there was Atla left. Yeah.
I had that happen trying to make my way over to Utan and start blowing him up when I had entered a wrong floor. All right, he must have had the balcony the whole time. He just got the second floor, so he's going to finish his mushroom house and go through these cutscenes. He won't be too far before joining us. I don't think he ever ended up getting an extra slingshot. He was using tone for combat, I believe, the whole time. But both of you had some really good gems show up. I saw the topaz and garnet between the two of you.
Yeah, I got one good gem. All the rest were kind of mediocre, but I think Mike got better gems. I think he got a peridot and a garnet.
Explain to me the purpose of going into your diorama view over and over. You're repositioning the NPCs, but it happens very quickly. So are you just trained to know where to look for where those NPCs might be?
Well, not exactly. Like, well, I sometimes I might know, like for example, if I reorganize the diorama inventory, like usually all the NPCs or the characters can be like in the same area, like at the bottom of the inventory. So I then reorganize it again so that all the NPCs show up at the top of the list. So like that's one way like to work with it.
So I think maybe the way I phrased it, there was some misunderstanding. So I mean he's got everything placed into the diorama. I simply mean he's lifting himself off the ground into that diorama, that overhead view, and then he's going back down and up and down consecutively. And so I know that's moving the NPCs physically in the world, because they're going to change positions when you move like that. But I was asking because I noticed you did the same thing where you very quickly kind of leapt up into the air and then back down a few times. And I'm wondering, are you just used to looking for certain cues to know where those NPCs have moved to?
Right. I think the only way I check things there is like I know where the NPC usually stands, like next to the door area. So I just repeat that a few times. I check if they appear there, and if they don't appear, then I just assume that they are inside the house.
Right, because if they're inside the house, they'll never suddenly move outside the house, correct?
Yeah, they only move out during the time transition, but like that's the only time when they like swap around.
looks like we're heading into that Master Utan fight. So what's the exact bomb count? I thought it was 32, but it looked like it may have been a little more, or is it somewhat variable?
It is actually 30, because I don't know if you noticed, but if you spam those bombs too fast, yeah, I think what might happen is that you throw an extra bomb, but that doesn't do the damage because he has like iframes for a little while.
Okay.
So you have to wait like for a split second each time you draw.
Gotcha. So that would explain why my count during practice, I'm counting 36, whereas it looked like you only threw about 32. So you may have had a dud or two bombs mixed into it as well.
Yeah, I'm not sure if how many. It might be 32 actually, the correct amount. I don't remember exactly if it's 30 or 32, but
okay.
But the same thing applies there.
It looks like we got an unfortunate hit that broke out of the damage loop. But we have a down Master Utan for Mike as well.
Yep, that's GG's.
Looks like that was still one heck of a race. Just a little bit of worse RNG on Mike's part.
Yeah, I believe this might be the highest gap that we had. Like, we did a lot of like D-Rush races before this. I think we did like 4 or 5 even.
Okay.
Races, and I think the highest gap we had was like around 7 or 8 minutes. So this is like 13 minutes, which is kind of crazy.
We're gonna wait for him to join us here in a second. He'll tell us his opinion on the race and how that went for him.
Yo.
Hey Mike, what's going on, my friend?
All good.
I know this isn't as close as some of your practice runs, but with Word. But how are you feeling about this particular race in general?
I've had some worse than this.
Okay.
In particular, the last attempt we did, I think it went even worse than this.
Gotcha. Now, because we had said several times now, you guys had a practice run where you timed exactly with the same time. Like you had to look at the milliseconds to know if either of you really pulled ahead. So it's definitely goes to show how that RNG affects the run pretty significantly. It was not kind to you, I will say.
Yeah, definitely. But there's also something that holds me a bit back, is that to do the diagonal running, it helps a lot having a third-party controller, because the analog stick gets only a limited amount of angles that it can input, and I don't have one of those. I use a first-party controller which has all the 360 inputs.
Okay, so are you playing console for this race as well?
Yep, I am on PS2.
All right, original hardware for both of these runners. That's fantastic. I know Sonic was also running console, so that's nice to see that people still hold to that original hardware.
For sure.
We thought there was going to be a huge upset early on. It looks like WordofWInd had his game freeze. We weren't sure if it was going to come back. Did you know that he had frozen?
I did. I was in voice chat with him.
Okay.
I suggested him to open the lid and close it again to reset the laser.
Okay. Is that what you did, or did it just come back on its own, Word?
Yeah, that's a good question. I'm not sure if Mike's tip actually helped, because I did try opening the lid and I put it back, and soon after that it did came back. So it might have been something that saved the run. I don't know.
It's anyone's guess. It could also be the spaghetti code of the game, locking on a loop forever.
Excellent, excellent. Well, it was a very good showing. So word's going to progress on. We do have more races coming. They'll be announced. If you're not following Speed Gaming is where you're going to find all of that information. You should absolutely do that. But Word, why don't you tell us where people can find you if they'd like to watch and see what you're doing?
It's pretty much the same username everywhere. WordofWInd on Twitch and yeah.
All right, so where videos are watched, if you want to check for WordofWInd, he will definitely be found. And Mike, where are people going to find you at?
Everyone can find me on my Twitch channel, MikeZorD95. Discord is the same, and that's pretty much it. Yeah.
Wonderful. Well, you can also join us at the Dark Cloud Speedrunning Discord for any Dark Cloud related items. I have been Ryushin91. There will be more races to come, so thanks very much everybody for joining us. We'll let you know as soon as another one is planned, and have a wonderful rest of your evening. Does anybody have any final wishes for everybody out there?
Well, I'll just have to thank you guys for setting up the event and giving the idea to celebrate this amazing game, and somewhat cursed as well.
Definitely cursed.
Yeah, and thanks for all the community that has been growing all the time, non-stop. So appreciate it.
Yeah, I agree with Mike. Thanks for the race, and thanks for the hosting. So yeah.
All right, looks like a
Good
link
stuff.
was dropped. Yeah, looks like links are being dropped in chat if you want to follow any of the racers. But that's our time, you guys. More races are planned, so join Speed Gaming, join the Dark Cloud Speedrun Discord. We'll be here.